Welcome to Report Extensions Doesn't Work in Real Life is something that a lot of people have told me lately. Hey, I'm Eric, and report extensions are a great thing. You can extend a report, and you do a lot of stuff on reports. But quite often, when you try to do that, you end up in a situation where it actually is not possible to use a report extension, or it is really, really complicated for something that should be so simple. Let's try something. So here's a posted invoice. Here's a posted invoice. There's 2 lines on it, and as you can see, that this customer here are using description 2 and would like description 2 to print out on the invoice. But description 2 is not in the data set of the invoice. So the customer has asked us to say, hey, can you add another field to this report? We'll actually do the layout stuff ourselves. You just need to add it to the data sets. That's all. And say, sure, we can do that. And what would the estimate be for adding a field? Well, the operation should take only a few minutes, but let's try to see what happens. So the task for today is to add description 2 to the sales invoice. And in this case, let's I have created a new, actually let me delete this one, a new extension here. So I'll create a I'll create a report extension. We will give it a number. And this one is just so unhappy with me right now. My invoice extends, and the one I want to extend is the sales invoice North America. 10,074, I think. Let's do an F12. Yes. And we can see that this one right now just have an RDLC layout. Since I expected, sometimes. Oh, because I already typed it. Wow. Anyway, there we go. Now we're good to go. Excellent. Okay, so I think the first thing I'm going to do is actually, because we just want to look at the data sets. Instead of having to fire up and the report builder, let's actually use the new thing where we can say rendering, and then we'll add a layout, and we can just call that Excel, and we'll give it a caption. Data in Excel for testing, and type would be Excel, I guess. And then we need to add you can see we got a squiggly line, so we need to add a layout file. So we'll add a layout file, and we'll call that invoice. XLSS, like that. And I think if I compile this, we will get an invoice XLS here. So that is actually pretty good. Now we could let's try to, so I'm not sure I did this before I started the video. Let's just check that I added in that I want to run this report. So let's run. So the only thing we did right now was just adding the Excel layout so we can take a look at the data set in an easy way. And I think this is the report we just looked at. Yeah, it is. So it's good. So we will use our new layout we added. So this one, download. There we go. Open the file, and that opened on a different screen, of course. Why would it? And we have the fields. There's a low description, high description. We just want to add this new field, and this goes to CX. Okay, so how hard can that be? Famous last words. So let's actually look at the dataset. And we want to add a column, right? So we want to add, and where do we want to add the column to? Well, we want to add it to the sales invoice lines. And we can see there are two elements here, one called sales invoice line and sales INV line. This one is the proper table, the sales invoice line. This one is, let's just look. This one is, what is that? That is integer. Okay, so let's do the right one. So we will add a column. We will add description 2, and we are done. This is going to be a short video. There we go. We have added the column to the report. Let's just test it before we give it to the customer. We select our layout again. That's the one. And now I switch. You see that this is Excel. Hang on. Now I get 5 lines in my dataset. So this is bad. This is not what I wanted. So I have now 5 lines. Which is totally not what I want. Let's see if I actually got the... Well, so here's the thing, and then this is a classic, because we now changed the data set. With Excel, we need to actually delete the Excel file. So let's do this again and see if we, now this is better. If that was the reason the data set was all screwed up. Let's quickly do this again. We download this, come on, BC. And this is the old one. Now it loads the new one. So let's make this big enough. And oh, we still have 5 lines. So this is clearly wrong. So we got a field, but we got it in separate rows in the data set. So unless we're prepared to do funky operations on the report side, and if you want to do word layout, you cannot do that, then this is not an option. So this doesn't work. So this doesn't work. Okay, but hang on, we got another one. So we could say add, and then we had the sales INV line, right? So how about we add a column here? Description. Wow, I can. Yeah. And then maybe we just, so this one is an integer. So the only field here is number, which is no use. But maybe they're clever enough, because some reports, they actually have one data element that is kind of setting the data, and then they use another one to loop over it again and again. So maybe we unlock and we can do sales. Let's do this. Sales invoice line dot description 2. And I'll remember to delete this right away here. Okay. So let's see what happens here. I'll select Excel. Got a new file. Come on. Now we'll have 3 lines. So that, I still don't understand that, to be honest, because I think there's only 2 lines on the invoice. I'm pretty sure there's only 2 lines on the invoice. So I'm not sure why I get 3. And I get my column, but I get line 2 in both of them, which was the last line. Okay, so at this point, this clearly doesn't work, right? So this was first try, and that failed. This was second try. So what do we do now? So I think we need to. So the sales invoice line is the right spot. This is where we need to add a column. But what do we add? Let's do something. So let's take a look at what actually goes on here. So let's look at the source codes for this report. And we want to find the sales INV line element. So this is integer. So numbers, and we can see that there's a variable called temp sales invoice line, which we are showing. But hang on, is it that easy? Temp invoice line. Description 2. Temp sales invoice line is inaccessible due to its protection level. So that failed too. Let's go back and take a look at this. Okay, so we have the temp sales invoice line. So where does that get a value? So we have, there's 4 places records are inserted into this one. So the first one is on after get record in sales comments lines. Okay, that's that one. The second one is on after get record in, hang on, yeah, in sales invoice line. So this one up here, the one that where we had the right data, but okay. So this, the sales invoice line element has no columns. It's just a, okay, so that one would insert, and if there's a comment line underneath it, it will insert a sales temp line. And But hang on, there were 4, right? So this is what this is. Sales comment line. Sorry, did it start over, roll over, and then on pre-data item of what? Pre-data of sales comment line. Then it will add a blank line. Okay, let me go from the start, because and I need to make it a tiny bit smaller so I'm able to see what goes on here. Now we're at the beginning. There's 4 places where records are inserted. The first one is sales line comment, sales comment line on after get record. The second one is at the sales invoice line on after get record. The third one is sales comment line, and the fourth one is so hang on. So the first one is comments online, then it's comments on the invoice. So we're working with something that's kind of been flattening, is that a word? So the layout is getting flattened into lines here, and then they can be reused in the copy loop. Copy loop, that was something when in the old days when you printed your invoices, and then you printed one to put in an email and you printed another one to put in a binder. I don't know any customers today who actually use the whole thing with copy loops in invoices and page loops and all that. So I think we might just, is all this a complication due to stuff like that? Anyway, okay, so I guess what we can do, so we gotta add another column to the sales invoice line here. Column description 2. Let me just delete this guy so I remember. Let's just create a variable called D2. Let's create that as a global. Or maybe let's hang on. Okay. So I think what we need to do is to go up, modify the sales invoice line, and create a trigger here on after get record. I love it. Because we saw that. Okay. I'm just gonna try something here. This may be total. I'll create a D2 list of text. So how about, so now we're inserting a line here. Says in one line, so we'll do D2 list add. Wow, add, come on. Description 2. Modify, what was the other one? Sales comment line, wasn't it? I think that was the one. So we'll do the same thing here on after get record, but here we want to store a blank. So okay, so let me try to explain what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to say, okay, so while Microsoft is running through these data, and in their report, and I guess we could do the same thing, but I'm just going to do a list. In their data models, they're building up a temporary table. So if we go to the sales line element and find the, I'm pretty sure, let's verify. By the way, I'm right now, I'm just saying, hey, that's the way what they do. So we got the number of lines, that's the temp sales invoice line count, and that's the range we set on the integer. But we have to have a on after here. That's the thing. So now we just use the integer to loop in this temporary thing. So I guess we can do the exact same thing. So if we make sure that we collect, let's just see. So so inside everything is within that one. We have the sales invoice line, we have the sales comment lines, and that was the one that always inserted a blank. And then inside the sales invoice lines, we also have a sales line comment. So we have sales comment line and sales. Whoa. Okay, so the one called, hang on. Man, I'm bad at this. Which one inserted a blank? That was the one called sales comment line. That one always inserts a blank line. So sales comment line, trigger on before pre. Let's do this. We'll do a D2 list, add another blank here. And then we need to modify the one called sales sales line comments and do a on after get here. So how many D2 list.add do I have now? I have 4. I think those are the right ones. So that, hang on. Where's my Excel? Remember we got a third line here always? I think that is the line that comes out of this, wherever that went again. This guy, where it inserts a blank line, always, no matter what. Because this predated, no matter if there's any comments, I know it's always inserting a blank line. Ay caramba. Okay, so go back to this. So we clearly need to now grab a value from our list. And I think in order for this actually to work, then we need to say modify sales invoice header, and then do begin. Wow. Trigger, let's do on, doesn't really matter, on before after get record. That's probably a good place. And then do D2 list, clear D2 list. And then, I think, okay. So how about, okay, let's do modify sales invoice line. So now what we need to do, we are missing one thing. We're missing to get a value from D2 list into D2. Let's rename that now that we know what we're talking about. Description to show. I just want to make sure. No, just description 2. That's probably fine. So that's the one we have here. So if we do a modifier on this one and then do a trigger on after get record, I guess, should we simply be able to say that description 2 is equal d2 list.get number? Remember, number, this one runs an integer, so we have number, which is the line number, and we just want to, we're trying to make sure that in this one we have the same number of lines. So let's add a breakpoint. How do you guys feel about a breakpoint? Oh, let us see, let us see. Okay, now I forgot if I needed to delete this guy or not, so let's actually do that again. Now let's select the Excel. We still got the right one here. Download. And I'm waiting because we got a breakpoint. Excellent. Number is what? What is number? Number. Sales invoice line dot number. D2 list. D2 list is the list. And we got 3 lines, and it was line 1 and line 2. I am feeling cautiously optimistic. Let's see. I hit a 5. Did we get a download or didn't we? Here's number 4. Well, let me make this bigger. Let's see. Bingo! I think we have a winner. So we got this and we have nothing here. This kind of works, but it's a really crappy solution. It's a really crappy solution because if Microsoft changes something, then we are now dependent on collecting these extra fields. So I could have used a temporary table instead of a list if I wanted to have more than one field and so on. But now, right now, we are dependent on the inner logic. So if Microsoft for some reason adds another place that could add a line, then all of this is out of whack. It wouldn't work. And I've spent half an hour figuring this out. So this is no longer a simple change. And all of this is because most of the reports, no, I'm not going to say most, we have lots of reports that were designed before AL was even a thing, right? And certainly before report extension was a thing. Maybe there's a new report in the system that was designed after report extension was created, but 90-something% of all the reports we have in the system were created way before. And we have these strange things where something that ought to be very, very simple and well, report extensions do work, but the problem is that if a report is designed to be without that in mind, like this one, then you gotta use these dirty hacks that it's not very good code. I would not be proud of putting something like this in anywhere, but I kind of have to, because the alternative is that I take a copy of that object. And now I have inherited a bunch of code from Microsoft that I don't want to maintain. So since these reports are, the dependencies on them are very small, I think there's room for some refactoring work at Microsoft to make them report extension friendly. So that's one of my Christmas wishes. If you have others, you can always put them in the comments below. If you have a whole different way and you're saying, but Eric, hang on, you could have done this in 10 lines of code and be done. Let me know, because I've been thinking about this before I started the video, and I couldn't really come up with any good way of getting to those lines. So anyway, let me know, and if you are ready for some more AL programming, check this video out. It's a good one. See you there.